G'day crew, welcome back. I'm Todd from Toxic Garage Customs. Thank you for joining me. In this episode, there's a few things going on, but I guess the main thing is going to be we get my English wheel mounted onto the wall. So if you want to see how I went about getting this mounted onto the wall, then watch this video. I'll see you at the end. Well, it's a bit wet outside at the moment. It's not raining right at the moment, which is good, but we're in for about 8 to 10 days rain, they say. Maybe a couple of 100 millimetres. So what's that? Maybe 8 inches of rain. So it's going to be pretty wet. So I'm just playing around in the garage. So I'll flip you around. So, you know, just those little jobs that you need to do every now and then. Fixing doors and things like that. But what we have here is my English wheel. So it's been months and months since this has been used, since before my move. And the wheels were all rusted up. They might still look a bit how you're going, but I can tell you they're a lot better than they were. So not the way to get your English wheel, but that's what happens when they sit around. So anyway, clean those wheels up. Clean the bead roller up a bit as well. I've got to clean all the other wheels up, but I'm going to mount this onto this frame of the shed. So that's one of the columns, the upright supports. So I've got this cross brace here, 2 bars there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to reinforce this a little bit with a couple of steel plates, maybe some of this stuff. So I'll reinforce that so it's got some good strength. And then I'm going to create a hinge off the back of my English wheel, because what I want to do is mount it onto there so that I can rotate it. It's a bit hard to film, so I'm a bit squashed in here. So I can rotate it that way, or this way, or work it straight out. And the idea of that is I can get rid of the stand to give me a bit more floor room, and I can just swing it around one way or the other, and when I'm not using it, just put it so it's up against the wall, and then I can put things in front of it or whatever. And I want to do the same thing with my planishing hammer, and I'll maybe put it up the other end so that when I'm using it I just bring it out across the top of my sheet metal roller there. As incredible as it may seem, I've got this shed, much bigger than I've ever had, got the shed out the front, and I've got enough room. But that is the way it is. The bigger your shed, the more junk you get. So I've got this piece of 2-inch 50mm by 5 or 6mm thick angle iron. I think what I'm going to do is weld it to here and to here, something, still working this out, and I'm going to make up a hinge system. And what I'm looking at, I've got this piece of water pipe, pretty solid, I don't know, what is it, 40-50mm thick, 30-40mm thick, and then I've got this other one. And I'm just cleaning it up a little bit, because what I want to do, this pipe has a little groove, focus, has a little groove inside there from when it's manufactured. So I'm just trying to grind that groove down, or file that groove down, because what I want to do is put this in here so that I can make the internal and external part of a hinge, and then I'll weld part of it to the angle and part of it to the frame and make it a hinge. So I'll cut some pieces and I'll explain to you once I've worked out what I'm doing. I know. Change of plans again. So this time I've got these metal bushings that Sam got for his GMC, which were never going to be right. And I actually have this solid rod that is almost identical internal diameter, or external diameter, internal diameter of those bushes. So you might be able to see that that looks like a really good pivot for a hinge. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to cut 2 pieces of this angle, put them back to back. I'm going to use these bushes and this pin as the hinge mechanism. and I'll just get some rod of some sort. No, sorry, not rod. I'll just get some pipe. I haven't got anything with the right diameter. That same problem I've been going through for this whole thing. But I'll just sleeve in between here and attach that to either the wall side or the English wheel side. That'll be a good solid hinge. I'll show you as I move along. Okay, so I've got a couple of pieces of angle iron cut to length, same length as each other, so 400 millimeters, and I've got those in the vise and I've got them held on the same plane right up against each other. Then I've got these bushes slid onto the rod, and all going well, I can still move the rod. And the idea is that I've got the bushes lined up on the rod so they stay on the same plane, and I've got those sitting hopefully perfectly over the center of the two pieces of angle iron where they join together, because that'll be my pivot point. So what I'm hoping will happen is that I'll weld onto one side of the hinge, so weld onto this, and I cleaned these up as well. Have to find the clean bits. I'll weld on, and really what I need is some welded on one side and the others welded on the other side. Ideally 5 would be good. I've got 3 at the moment, so I'm just going to try and test the concept, but I'm definitely going to need to put more in here. So I'll probably end up putting something here and something here that's welded to that side, or the other way around, and these 3 that are welded on the other side. But at the moment I'm just going to weld 2 on one side, 1 on the other, because I just want to see if the hinge is going to pivot in the right location. I think I've got it right, but I just want to double check. Okay, let's see if the theory is right. It's only tacked together, so if it's not right, it's going to be hard to fix. So firstly, does this turn? Yep, I can turn that, so that's a good thing. It means all the bushes are on the same plane. Now what I want to be able to happen is that I can turn one plate independently to the other. And that, I'm actually happy for it not to be too loose, as long as it's not all tight and binding up, because that means that it won't wobble around when I'm trying to use it. So let's see if this works. Okay. That looks like a hinge to me. So hopefully what you can see there is that I've got 2 angle brackets, one to attach to the post, one to attach to the English wheel, and the thing will pivot on this point, and then it'll close up nicely. So when I've got it out, if I want it to be at a 90 degree to the wall, it'll stop. And what I'm thinking is that I'm going to just have some way of just holding the brackets together in some way so that it doesn't flop around, doesn't spin around when I'm trying to use it. Okay, I'm happy with that. So what I'm happy with is the fact that I've got the pivot point right. Without trying to overthink it, it's really easy to get the pivot point on hinges wrong if you don't know what you're doing. And luckily I've done it once or twice before, so I had an idea, but I like to test myself. Okay, well, the rain started up again out there. So in the name of hot rodding, you use whatever you can to build what you're trying to build. So what I've got here is a whole bunch of nuts, and I've had to cut one down here. And this one, I didn't have enough of these ones, so I got this one, which is gal, so I've ground the gal coating off it. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to weld, I'll tack all these together so they make one sleeve. I'll just tack them together, and then I'm going to weld them from the back. I'll cut this one loose and weld it from the front, and I'll weld these ones from the back too. This will be welded front, front and front, back and back, and that will be a really solid hinge. So again, welding it with the rod in place. I'll be careful of the heat so it doesn't twist, because if it twists then I'm shot. I should be able to tap this bar out after I've welded it all together. These have got a little bit of movement in them, which is fine. I think I can live with that. And I've put a washer on the bottom as well, just so they don't bind up. And when I assemble it, I'll put grease on the shaft, and I'll just put a little bit of grease around here as well. And I think it all should be good. So I haven't actually checked to see whether the shaft is still rotating or not. Looks good. Okay, well, I'll tack them together and we'll get into it. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. It's a little bit bound up and the washers got stuck. The washers that I put there got stuck, so I may or may not end up putting those back in. That's okay. So I've got all these nuts welded in place, and I've got these bushes welded in place. I put a lot of heat in there, and I think it's just twisted a little bit. So when it cools down, it might be okay. It'll still move. I'm sure that once I've got it on the wall and I've got the weight of the English wheel there, it'll be fine. I'd actually prefer that it was a bit tight than loose, to be honest. That way it's not going to tend to move around too much. But I can move that like that. It's just, it does bind up. It's better already. It does bind up a little bit. But what we have there is a hinge. Now what I'm going to do is I'll probably just get a nut like this, like I've used on the rest. I'll weld that there, and then this is a drop bolt. So if I want to remove the English wheel from the wall without unbolting it or anything, I can just bang this pin out, take the whole thing out, one bracket will remain on the wall, one bracket will remain on the English wheel. So I'm going to weld, I think I'm going to weld one of the brackets to the wall frame, and the other one I'm going to bolt to the English wheel. So I think it'd be good to be able to remove it later if I wanted. So hopefully I've got some bolts long enough to be able to go through the bracket and through the English wheel. So happy with that, it's come up well. So all I'm going to do now, I'm using a soft faced mallet here, by the way, copper faced mallet, when I put the pin in, so that I don't mushroom the slide, because if I do, I won't be able to take it in and out. So it doesn't matter on the top in a minute, but it did matter when I was still trying to take it in and out. So just got to tap this up a bit and just sit that like that, and put some weld on there, and all that is just a head so that it doesn't drop down. I don't need to put it, I considered putting a split pin or an arc clip or something in the bottom. The reality is it's never ever 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 going to fall out, so totally pointless. Drop this in, as I said, pop a little bit of lubricant in there, and I think it'll be good. So throw some weld on that, and then we can start fitting this thing to the wall and the English wheel. So my new hinge is going to be mounted on here and on here. I'm going to try, hopefully, to use that hole that goes through there with that bolt on the bottom, and then I might repurpose this bolt up here, so I'll drill another hole there. I might be able to get away with just 2 holes, or I may end up with 3, we'll see. So hinge is still a bit warm, but this is it. You've got the 2 bits of angle, so it's going to be mounted like that with the bolts going through there, and hopefully I can fit a bolt in there, we'll see. Might have to move it up. And then on the other side, this section I'm going to weld to that frame, so I'll clean that up. I'll weld that, I'll give that a good bead of weld, top, bottom, everywhere. And then once I've got it in place, I think that brace will be okay, but I'll put another brace below it, and I might put one behind it as well. So there's got to be a reasonable amount of weight swinging off this with the English wheel. It's sort of long, it's what, 900, maybe a metre, so 3 or 4 foot, or 3 foot. So that'll come across there. And I'll also take this part off. I think it unbolts. Take that part off, and I'll mount that somewhere close by as well, maybe on here. So the idea is that when this hinges there, that this whole thing will swing like that, and it'll park over here, and it won't take up too much space. And when I swing it out, it'll be where it is at the moment, so at a 90-degree angle to the wall, give me plenty of room, and I can use it anywhere in between if I wish. I don't see any reason why I need it to go any further than that. And when I did my metal rack and everything, which was in a previous video, I made it so that this bottom shelf was at the height for my English wheel to be able to swing in there. So a little bit of pre-planning there, because I knew that I was going to be doing this. So let's clamp this in place, start marking out. Now my MO, my modus operandi, is to normally mark a hole, measure carefully, get it exactly where I believe it is, go and drill the hole and find out it's in the wrong spot and then elongate it and just make it work. So hopefully I can stick true to form and not get the hole in the right spot. Righto, so I've got that hinge welded onto the frame. I will put a brace down the bottom, but I want to get the English wheel mounted first and I'll worry about the brace afterwards. I'm not even sure if it's going to need it is the reason for it. There's a brace here and there's a brace there. I feel that one there will help, but it may not be necessary. This is actually a very thick walled square hollow section. I'm not sure what it is, but I know, I haven't seen it from the end, but I know that I haven't been able to blow a hole in it, let's put it that way. So yeah, I'm guessing it's sort of 4 or 5 mil thick. So I'm going to bring the English wheel across. Might have to get some help with this. Actually, I might use the engine crane and hang it. I think that the hole that I drilled in the bottom corner here, the one that I drilled for that is in the right spot. We'll see. And we'll take it from there. So my battery went flat during the end of this process, but there she is. There's my English wheel mounted to the wall. Now it's freed up a bit of space for me, which was the main purpose of doing this. So without removing everything, I'll just swing my trolley jack out of the way. Just got to change this camera a little bit. So what we have here, so this is the hinge mechanism. Probably won't bother painting it. And it easily just swings out from the wall. Gives me plenty of working space at this sort of angle, or if I want to, I can push it in there and work on whatever angle I want. And I guess yeah, depends on how big the sheet is. So it tucks away nicely there. It serves the purpose well. So I don't have the bulk of that stand, and it is solid. And I ended up mounting the spare wheels over here, so I can't lift this out at the moment, that's in the way, but that's just mounted onto the braces. And while I didn't feel that I needed any additional reinforcing, because it was plenty strong, I did weld a little tab down the bottom there, and it was literally just to mount the spare wheels onto down the bottom. So that is a win. That is absolutely fantastic. And as I said, if I want to make it so that it doesn't move around too much, all I'll do is just drill a hole in here and that one, yeah, drill a hole in either one of these hinges and thread it. And it's just so I can put a screw in there, so just a bolt, I should say. And if I want it not to move, I'll just tighten it onto the actual pivot and it should stay in place. That's all that we'll need. But I'm super thrilled with that. I think it came out really well. It was just a rainy day's work, something I've been going to do for a while. That hinge will hold up forever, and as long as the wall of my shed doesn't fall down, then it should be pretty good too. So moving along to the next thing, which I don't know what it'll be, but I'll mount something else, maybe that planishing hammer on the wall, we'll see. and also want to do something with my bead roller. Just want to brace it up. These are not high quality, high dollar items, and if you watch any videos about this quality of thing, everyone always needs to beef them up and reinforce them. So my English wheel, I'll probably end up putting some reinforcing on it as well. There's a million videos out there on YouTube of how people do that, so if I do it, I'll probably film it, but I'll just be doing what everyone else has already done. So what I'm trying to establish here is, this is my metal working area. So the hope is that I can just roll a car forward into the other shed, or roll it back out of the way, or move it over to the side or whatever, and I'll be able to access all of those tools. The welder doesn't live there, just happens to be where it's been living lately. It's got a spot over here next to the oxy set. So just trying to create work zones. So I'm very happy I've got good big workspaces with plenty of workbenches and vices and so on going on. And as I said in the previous video about the hoist, I've got the good workspace out here that'll be for literally just lifting things up, putting them down, changing oil, washing them, vacuuming them, whatever. It's a clean zone. So coming together well. And I think that's probably about it for this one. Well, what do you reckon? I'm really, really thrilled with the way that came up. My metal working station over there is coming up well, and in fact my whole workspace is coming up well. Eventually, I'll actually start working on something again. That'll be pretty soon. So, I think I did promise there'd be car activity in this video. No, I don't think there's been much actually. So, we'll move along. But that's awesome. I'm really happy with the way that came up. So, yeah, stay tuned. We'll actually get using it at some point in time. So thanks for joining me. Stay safe. I'll see you on the next one.